Today we are going to be talking about potential updates that I would love to see based on your comments, some of the things that you guys have spoken about previously, and just get a general gist as to what the PVE Escape from Tarkov community actually want in the game. So with that being said, let's start off with number one. But before we do, make sure to hit the like button if you want to see some more Escape from Tarkov PVE, and hit the subscribe so you'll be notified and you'll see the videos easier when they do come out. Now, number one is a rework to one particular map that I feel like could definitely do with a bit of love, and that is Lighthouse. Lighthouse is a map that is very one-dimensional in terms of how you play it, the traditional way in which you play Lighthouse, applying to both PvP and PvE. It's both similar in the way that it actually plays out, whereby you essentially spawn at one side, whether you spawn near the road camp or whether you spawn at the other end near the lighthouse. You're basically making your way down the road, and that is the ultimate thing with the map. And although it is pretty decent in terms of the loot, you're getting a lot of loot, the engagements are very similar in the way that they play out. I mean, the rogue base itself is a almost static fight. It's always the same in terms of how you're actually fighting, other than when you get into the buildings, maybe you have a little bit more diversity in what actually happens when you enter in. But primarily the way in which you take out all of the road camp is basically the same, and I have no issues with that being the case. But when it is the case that all of the other engagements that you're also having alongside are very static as well, whereby, you know, the key areas of the map which are pretty limited, there's not that many key points of interest, being the chalet, the lighthouse island itself, but is only available to those who do have Lightkeeper available, which is very limited to the number of players that actually have that. And of course the road camp, that is basically what you have. You have the village as well that you can go down into, but other than that there isn't a whole lot of places to really go to on the map. And so in my opinion, and from what I've seen, some people are hoping to see an expansion horizontally on the map so that, you know, you can go up into maybe the mountainous area. Maybe there's a way of getting up to the mountain and you can actually see some interesting points over there, which gives you more area to go ahead and find those engagements that are a little bit more engaging. Opens up a few new channels at which you can actually fight through, because a lot of the choke points are where you're basically having all of your fighting going on, which is basically the chalets and the entrance from the chalets down to the old village, and then between, you know, when you get into the road camp, anyone else that decides to jump in there. And, you know, that's not a whole amount of engagements that you're really having, and a lot of them are across the road, which is fine, but it would be nice to have that extra area, either whether it's expanding from the back of the road camp outwards towards where you see like the industrial area, whether we have a few more buildings and stuff that we can actually go ahead and loot and check out. I think that would be an amazing asset to the game in general, really something that gives you something extra that you can go ahead and do that isn't your bog standard that we've always seen when we've jumped into Lighthouse. And the map itself is pretty decent, but I wanted to table an idea to you. Maybe what if we actually got a Lighthouse specific boss, not just Partisan and the goons, but actually a Lighthouse specific boss that maybe, you know, in the update comes in on a boat, and there's a new boat that's actually capsized or something, that's on the side of the road by, for example, the USEC camp, or maybe further on down the road, where it expands the area by adding in a boat and you can go on there. That's where the boss is. Maybe it's a captain or something like that. I don't know. That would be really cool in terms of expanding the area as well, whether you go up into the highlands and expand out that way, the industrial area, or maybe just expand into the water itself. I think that that would be amazing to see on the map and really bring Lighthouse into a new state and something extra to do on the map that isn't just your 3 areas that you typically go to on the map. Now, the next thing is going to have to be Prestige. The Prestige is something that I believe BSG are hoping to implement at some point in the future. No official dates, no official release date, no kind of plans as of yet to actually see that introduced into the game, but I think this should be a high priority as a PvE update. Now, of course, they have PvP, they're doing lots of updates to PvP, and of course we've seen quite a few changes to PvE recently, so I'm not expecting it to come super quickly, but adding in the prestige system I think should be a priority. It gives a way of getting rid of some of the rubles off of the market that people have been hoarding. I mean, as soon as a prestige system comes in, I will be resetting my entire account back to 0 and starting all over again, wiping off what, 1.2 billion rubles straight off of the game. And although that's probably a small sum of the total money on Tarkov, of course this will be available to everyone in PvE and just gives those players that have reached kind of that end state of PvE a chance to restart and play the game mode that maybe they've enjoyed playing without having to go ahead and buy a brand new account to do that, or completely resetting their account with no kind of I guess sense of accomplishment having done that. And so prestige would be a really good option to have in. Secondly, it would be amazing to see some more syncs for the rubles that you do accumulate. Currently, we have customization options that you can spend your money and rubles on, but they're quite limited in what you can actually purchase in the game that really do anything. And so adding maybe some extra bits that you can spend rubles on, maybe allowing us to purchase some things within the hideout using rubles, or just generally, you know, adding in some cosmetic rooms into the hideout, or something that is draining away those rubles from your account. Like, we're talking like the end game goal. So even if your hideout expansion costs 100 million rubles or something like that, it would be amazing to have this added into the game as kind of, you know, once you've reached that stage at which rubles do not matter, which on PvE happens quite quickly, you have something to use them for and a reason to actually go in and loot things once you've got to that stage, which I know a lot of you who do play PvE probably haven't got to that stage just yet. But over a period of time, a long enough time, everyone is going to have probably 1 billion rubles at this rate with the amount of loot that we do get. And I'm not saying that loot should be nerfed or anything like that. It's just we should have something else to kind of sink away those rubles, because we do not have the wipes like PvP do. So there has to be some way of removing those, which kind of joins back to the whole prestige system, which will do somewhat like that, but of course also having an option to get rid of those rubles should you not wish to reset your account. Then the next thing for me personally is to change how the skill system works, because currently the amount of XP that you get from doing various different skills within the game, and having recently just made a video talking about the attention, perception and search skills from running around and, you know, opening all of the containers, the amount of XP that you get for the amount of time that you put in is just disproportionately just away with the fairies, in my opinion. Like, you are not able to level up to your max very quickly at all. Like, it's not even close how much hours you're going to have to put in. I mean, me myself, I've probably put in hundreds, if not like probably closer to 1,000 hours over the last year since PvE has been released, or maybe it's slightly over or under. Either way, it's been a long old time that I've slammed into PvE, and although I'm not specifically focusing on my skills, and I'm sure I could have leveled up my skills faster if I'd been focused on actually doing them. I mean, most of my skills that aren't, you know, strength, endurance and things that you just do by playing the game explicitly, they are just not even close to being max. Some of them being level 25, level 30. I mean, for example, skills such as your vitality skill or your stress resistance or things like that, your intellect and everything in between, even your weapon maintenance skill is just very difficult to level up anywhere near the max. I mean, my weapon maintenance, I go in, I take weapons that are low durability, repair them up, I'm spending money on repair kits, and it's still only about level 11 on my account. This is something that is just ludicrous to ever think that you're going to get to level 50 within any decent amount of time, and I think the amount of XP that you're getting from those should be buffed up like they did with the strength and endurance within the game. Something like that is definitely needed, and a full skill rework would probably be very, very useful. I know that this is something that may come in later on down the line, and BSG may already be working on trying to do something like that, but it is very, very crazy just how much it's just so hard to get. And I think most people's consensus of the skill system is that most of them you're never even going to get close, like not even halfway to getting them maxed out. Especially on PvP. I mean, that is just ludicrous to think that anyone playing the game, even somewhat hardcore, is going to even be able to level up, let alone their strength or even things like your endurance to max, which can be done. And, you know, if you're playing a lot, and I mean a lot, I think people like streamers, they're of course going to get there. But in terms of like the average casual player, there is no chance. If you're playing, you know, 1-2 hours a day, even consistently for every day for the entire wipe, it's very difficult to get there consistently, which is the problem, I think, with regards to some of these skills. So making that system a little bit faster, you know, even if you doubled the rate at which you're getting XP, I think it would be pretty decent. And, you know, for the amount of time you're having to put in, you are going to see some benefit to that with your skills. So yeah, that's definitely something I think should be changed in the game. Now, the next thing I would actually really enjoy to see within the game is having a hideout expansion to include a contract. Now, the contracts which I'd envision would be to go alongside your standard gameplay, similar to what a task would be, but they're more to do with eliminating things within the game. Maybe they're a specific contract that says, you know, in that week everyone gets the exact same contract, and it's like take out X amount of Rashala or something like that, that is like a little bonus. And maybe rather than giving you out items, it just gives you flat rubles, or maybe it, you know, gives you specific skill upgrades or skill bonuses for completing that contract, depending on what type of task it is. So that sort of thing does of course happen with regards to weekly challenges, but those challenges are basically just rehashed versions of specific tasks that we already have in the game, with a few extra different things added in as well. But contracts would be, you know, eliminating PMCs to get your, with a sniper or something like that, would give you additional sniper levels or something like that, which may also play into the whole skill system. So having like a contract hideout person or a contract board or something that you can, you know, build in your hideout, available, you know, level 40 or level 30 or something like that, would be really, really nice. I think that would be a very good addition. And it also gives players that maybe have got towards the later stages, you know, you've done a lot of tasks and you're wanting to do something a little bit different, something else to do, which I think is very good. And of course it's gameplay related, it's not just menu content that we have in the game. I think that would be fantastic to see, jumping into Tarkov and having some extra contracts with specific bonuses that aren't usually given out within the tasks or daily tasks or weekly tasks or whatever it might be. Another thing I would love to see is boss enrage mechanics. Now, I don't know how this would work with regards to PvP. I'm sure someone could flesh it out and come up with a system that suits both PvP and PvE, as that's what Tarkov is probably most likely going to do. So because of course they don't want to develop two different systems for two different separate modes, because it's just going to create double the work for the same output. So coming up with a system that does work in the same sort of concept, but allowing you to, for example, increase the boss spawns depending on how many times you've taken out a boss during a week. So maybe it's a community event whereby, like, during the week, glue car is 100% spawn on reserve, for example. And so or it starts off at 30% spawn rate every single raid, and then as the community takes out Gluhar during the entire week, the spawn goes up to 50%, goes up to 70%, and then goes up to 100% or something like that, depending on how many times you take out the boss. So you're working alongside the community as well as on a personal level to complete that and make the boss more enraged. I mean, on PVE, for example, it would be great if we had a system where, you know, the more times you take out the boss, so say you take out Gluhar 10 times in a week, you're able to get him at 100% spawn rate for the entire week, and it adds extra guards added on to what actually normally spawns within the raid, so he gets like extra protection. Or maybe they do it in a way where, you know, if you take out so many scavs, the boss actually starts to spawn more guards because he needs protection or something like that, or more protection. And so maybe it works like that. The more things that you take out during the raid before he gets taken out, the more spawn in that raid, and therefore you're going to see more kind of difficult, challenging concepts when you do go after those bosses. Whether or not you guys agree, I don't know. This is just my own personal opinion, but this was something I saw from one of you guys in the original, and I really liked the idea, so I thought I'd add it in here. The next thing is the final one that I wanted to highlight in today's video. Now, you can leave your own comments as to some of the other bits that you would like to see, but this is something that I've really enjoyed that Tarkov have done over the last year and a bit, really in specific, which is the exclusive event items that you can get from doing certain events that come throughout the Tarkov year. Which, for example, would be the clothing that you can get from doing the Korovod event and stuff like this, that I feel is actually really cool to kind of get you playing, get you involved with the event, and gives you a reward for not only just doing the event and getting things from that event, but also, you know, you get a piece of, I guess, not history, but something else from just playing the game that you can show off to your friends. Prestige, as in like, I'm prestige because I have, you know, this customizable thing from an event that was actually relatively difficult and that I managed to complete, is cool to also have. And I would love for them to continue with this, to develop this, and maybe even overhaul what the achievement system has, whereby, you know, the hardest achievements also reward you with more customizable stuff that you can show off to people, I guess. And that is something that would be amazing for me as a player. And, you know, we have this thing with, you know, the tracksuit on, for example, for Killer and that sort of stuff. So more of that would be amazing, as like customizable stuff that you can add to your character that is difficult and has some value to it in terms of, I guess, kudos or whatever you want to call it. But that sort of stuff, I really, really like it. And of course, continue with the events that give you exclusive items that you can put into your trophy cabinet as well. Stuff like that is really, really nice to have. And I've enjoyed all of the events, especially the zombie event. That was really, really good fun. I enjoyed that for sure. And of course, came with an expansion at the same time, 2 labs, which I found was amazing. So that being said, of course, once again, please let me know your comments as to some of the updates that you would like to see as well. If I've missed anything, if you disagree, that's perfectly fine. As I say, my opinion means absolutely no more than anyone else's who plays the game. We all play the exact same game. We all play the game as much as you want to. And of course, different people have different opinions. So I'm not going to say mine is completely right, but of course, let me know. And of course, I will see you in the next video, hopefully. And make sure to subscribe down below if you like this video, you want to see more. And of course, like the video if you did, dislike it if you didn't. And I will see you there. Have a great rest of the day. Goodbye.